The rain hammered against the windows of our Chicago apartment, mirroring the storm brewing inside me. For 20 years, Alaric, a 46-year-old software engineer, had built a life with my wife, Bronte. We'd met in college, two awkward souls finding solace in each other's company. We'd weathered job losses, family illnesses, and the everyday grind of life. Or so I thought. The first crack in the facade appeared subtly. Bronte, usually an open book, started guarding her phone like it held state secrets. Late nights at the office, once a rare occurrence, became commonplace. "Just wrapping up the Peterson project, Alaric," she'd say, her eyes darting away from mine. I wanted to believe her. I truly did. But a nagging feeling, a cold dread, began to settle in my stomach. I started noticing changes in Bronte's behavior: a new perfume, a different style of dress, a certain lightness she seemed to carry, a lightness that wasn't there before. It was like she was shedding the skin of the woman I knew and becoming someone else. One evening, Bronte claimed she had a conference in Denver. "It's crucial for my career, Alaric," she insisted, her voice laced with a forced enthusiasm. "I'll be back on Friday." I kissed her goodbye, a hollow feeling in my chest. As the days passed, the unease grew. I tried to distract myself with work, burying myself in lines of code, but Bronte's absence loomed large. I found myself constantly checking my phone, hoping for a text, a call, anything to reassure me. But the phone remained silent. On Thursday night, sleep eluded me. I tossed and turned, my mind racing. I had a bad feeling, a gut feeling that something was terribly wrong. Around 3 a.m., I found myself staring at Bronte's laptop, sitting innocently on her desk. I knew it was wrong, a violation of her privacy, but I couldn't shake the feeling that the truth was hidden within its digital depths. With trembling hands, I opened it. Bronte's password was, as always, our anniversary date. A wave of sadness washed over me. Even her password felt like a lie now. I navigated to her email. There, amidst the work correspondence and promotional emails, I found them. A series of emails exchanged between Bronte and a man named Torin. The subject lines were innocuous project update, meeting notes, but the content was anything but. Words of longing, declarations of love, explicit descriptions of secret rendezvous. My blood ran cold. I scrolled through the emails, each word a dagger twisting in my heart. They had been seeing each other for months. Months of lies, months of deception, months of betrayal. One email, dated just a week before, detailed their plans for a romantic getaway to a secluded cabin in Wisconsin. "Just you and me, darling," Torin had written. "No distractions, no responsibilities, just pure bliss." The cabin, it was the same cabin we had always talked about going to, the one we had dreamed of escaping to for our 20th anniversary. I felt like I couldn't breathe. The air in the room seemed to have thickened, suffocating me. I slammed the laptop shut, the sound echoing in the silent apartment. I stumbled back, collapsing onto the bed, my body racked with sobs. 20 years. 20 years of love, trust, and commitment, all reduced to ashes by Bronte's infidelity. The next morning, I was a shell of my former self. My eyes were bloodshot, my face pale, my body heavy with exhaustion. I called in sick to work, unable to face the world. I spent the day in a daze, replaying the emails in my mind, each word a fresh wound. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, I could barely think. I was consumed by a mixture of rage, sadness, and disbelief. How could she do this to me? How could she betray me in such a cruel and callous way? As the day wore on, a plan began to form in my mind. A plan born out of pain, anger, and a desperate need for answers. I decided to confront her. I needed to hear it from her own lips, to see the guilt in her eyes. I booked a flight to Denver, arriving late Friday afternoon. I rented a car and drove straight to the hotel Bronte had mentioned in her emails. I waited in the lobby, my heart pounding in my chest, my hands clammy with sweat. Finally, I saw her. She walked through the doors, her face flushed, her eyes sparkling. But she wasn't alone. Torin was with her, his arm wrapped possessively around her waist. They laughed, their faces close, oblivious to my presence. I felt a surge of rage so intense that I almost lost control. I wanted to scream, to shout, to tear them apart, but I held back. I needed to remain calm, to gather my evidence, to expose their treachery. I followed them to their room, my steps silent, my face grim. I listened at the door, my ears straining to catch their words. "That conference was so boring," Bronte said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "I can't believe Alaric actually bought it." "He's such a fool," Torin replied, his voice laced with arrogance. "He'll never suspect a thing." I had heard enough. I kicked the door open, the sound echoing through the hallway. Bronte and Torin jumped back in shock, their faces turning ashen. "Alaric," Bronte gasped, her eyes wide with terror. "What are you doing here?" "I know everything," I said, my voice cold and hard. "I read your emails. I know about your affair. I know about your little getaway." Bronte's face crumbled, tears welled up in her eyes. "Alaric, please let me explain," she pleaded, her voice trembling. "There's nothing to explain," I said, cutting her off. "You betrayed me, you lied to me, you destroyed our marriage." I turned to Torin, my eyes filled with contempt. "And you," I said, "you're nothing but a pathetic excuse for a man. You preyed on my wife, you broke up my family. You'll pay for this." Torin stepped forward, his face flushed with anger. "Stay out of this, Alaric," he warned. "This is between Bronte and me." "It was between Bronte and me," I corrected him. "You made it about you, and now you're going to face the consequences." I lunged at Torin, grabbing him by the collar. I slammed him against the wall, my fist connecting with his jaw. He cried out in pain, his body slumping to the floor. Bronte screamed, pulling at my arm. "Alaric, stop it. You're going to kill him." I pushed her away, my eyes blazing with fury. "He deserves it," I said. "He deserves everything he gets." I continued to pummel Torin, each blow fueled by years of pent-up anger and resentment. Finally, I stopped, my body exhausted, my knuckles bruised. Torin lay on the floor, his face a bloody mess, his body trembling. I turned to Bronte, my heart filled with a mixture of sadness and disgust. "I'm done," I said. "I'm done with you, I'm done with this marriage. I want a divorce." Bronte collapsed onto the bed, sobbing uncontrollably. "Alaric, please don't do this," she begged. "I'm so sorry, I made a mistake, I still love you." "Love," I scoffed. "You don't know the meaning of the word, you only love yourself. You're a selfish, deceitful woman, and I want you out of my life." I walked out of the hotel room, leaving Bronte sobbing behind me. I didn't look back. I drove to the airport, my mind numb, my heart broken. As the plane took off, I looked down at the city below, a city that had once held so much promise, so much hope. Now it was just a reminder of my shattered dreams, my lost love, my broken heart. I returned to Chicago, a changed man. The naive, trusting husband was gone, replaced by a hardened, cynical survivor. I filed for divorce, severing all ties with Bronte. She tried to contact me, to apologize, to explain, but I refused to speak to her. I couldn't forgive her. I couldn't forget her betrayal. As for Torin, he pressed charges against me for assault. I was arrested, spent a night in jail, and faced a lengthy court battle. In the end, I was found guilty of assault but received a lenient sentence, probation, and community service. The judge recognized the circumstances of the case, the emotional turmoil I had endured, and the fact that Torin had played a significant role in the breakdown of my marriage. The experience was humiliating, but it was also cathartic. It allowed me to release my anger, to assert my dignity, to reclaim my life. In the months that followed, I focused on healing. I threw myself into my work, spending long hours at the office, losing myself in the complexities of software development. I started exercising, running miles along the lakefront, pushing my body to its limits. I reconnected with old friends, people I had neglected during my marriage. Slowly, gradually, I began to rebuild my life. It wasn't easy. There were days when the pain was overwhelming, when the memories of Bronte haunted me, when I questioned my own worth. But I persevered. I refused to let her betrayal define me. One day, a few years after the divorce, I received a letter from Bronte. It was a long, rambling apology, filled with regret and remorse. She admitted that she had made a terrible mistake, that she had destroyed the best thing that had ever happened to her. She said that she had left Torin shortly after the incident in Denver, realizing that their affair was nothing more than a fleeting infatuation. She was now alone, she wrote, living a life of quiet desperation, haunted by the consequences of her actions. I read the letter with a mixture of pity and indifference. I no longer felt any anger towards Bronte, but I also felt no desire to forgive her. The love I had once felt for her was gone, replaced by a cold emptiness. I threw the letter in the trash, feeling a sense of closure. I had moved on. I had rebuilt my life. I had found peace, but the story doesn't end there. A few months later, I received an unexpected phone call. It was from a woman named Isolde who introduced herself as Torin's wife. She had found out about the affair, she said, and she wanted to thank me. Thank me? I asked, confused. Yes, Isolde replied. Thank you for exposing my husband's treachery. Thank you for saving me from a life of lies and deception. She told me that she had divorced Torin, taking half of his assets and leaving him with nothing. He had lost his job, his home, and his reputation. He was now living in a small apartment, working as a telemarketer, struggling to make ends meet. He got what he deserved, Isolde said, her voice filled with satisfaction. He destroyed our marriage, and now he's paying the price. I felt a sense of grim satisfaction. Torin had been arrogant, smug, and unrepentant. He had deserved to suffer the consequences of his actions. Justice had been served. I never saw Bronte or Torin again. I moved on with my life, eventually finding love again with a woman named Brizo, who appreciated my honesty, my loyalty, and my strength. We built a new life together, a life filled with trust, respect, and genuine affection. I learned a valuable lesson from my experience with Bronte that love is precious, but it is also fragile. It must be nurtured, protected, and cherished. And that betrayal, once inflicted, can never be truly forgiven. It leaves a scar that may fade over time, but it will always be there, a reminder of the pain, the loss, and the enduring power of the human heart. Life had thrown me a curveball, a devastating blow that had threatened to destroy me. But I had survived. I had emerged from the ashes, stronger, wiser, and more resilient than ever before. And in the end, that was all that mattered.